patch notes just dropped, and I've actually not read this yet, so this is going to be my live reaction of this. Now, they say, calling all clans, test your might in our next content update. Exciting. It says right here, 3 new events, 36 new legendary items, and an array of updates to existing features. This update will be arriving, it looks like, for everybody by the end of 3 a.m. PDT on the 26th. We shall be having this launch. Now, keep in mind, this is actually a minor update. Don't expect anything major. The next major update is still slated for middle of the year, probably right around that anniversary time, beginning of June, end of May would be my guess if I had to guess. Now, let's continue here with the codex. Feature updates are the first one. They're going to mention 36 new legendary items, so we're going to be getting essences first, and it looks like they're staying true to their tradition of keeping the new essences above a certain hell difficulty level. Hell 7 in this regard, it seems like they're increasing the requirements for hell difficulty in order to give a sense of progression or something to people that are still adding to the game. There's a reason to climb hell difficulties, etc. That's what it seems like. Could also be just to help the drop pool, make it a little bit easier to acquire some of the legendary items earlier, since not all of them are in the pool in the beginning, and then they expand the pool as you go and play the game more and more. Could be any of those reasons, but let's go ahead and continue. So, starting from the top, Barbarian. Blood Guzzo Shoulders. Each time cleave deals damage to an enemy within 2 seconds, its damage against the enemy is increased by 10% up to 30%. So this is sort of to help cleave with its single target damage. Interesting. It's on shoulders, fairly competitive spot. Here we go with the pants. Ground Stomp now also causes lava to erupt from the ground after a short delay, damaging and stunning enemies. That's interesting. More stuns. Barbarians getting CC. I don't know how much I like that. Let's continue here. Cleave now becomes a channel, damaging all enemies in front of you repeatedly. I actually do like that. So Cleave, it doesn't really get a ton of use right now. So that's on main hand and then the shoulder. So we could actually pair these cleaves together. Kind of interesting. Offhand here, Hammer of Ancients now can be dropped at target location. When activated again, you and your hammer rush toward each other, gathering any enemies in between together. Ooh. That is, I have to see that in action, but that actually sounds like what you could do. That actually sounds like that's buffing barbarians for what's already annoying. Now, granted, this is the offhand, which is the most competitive spot in the game because it has the fire burn for the barbarian, but you could drop the Hammer of Ancients on the idol in PvP. You could push the button again, swapping, dragging people from the idol to you, and then you can rush towards the idol. It seems like pretty good, but again, that's in the competitive spot. After using Hammer of Ancients, your attack speed and movement speed are increased by 20% for 4 seconds, and then the head is demoralized, now calls on the power of Ancients to charge you from a targeted location, bringing any enemies in its path to you. A lot of charge stuff, a lot of cleave type of stuff. Their dev note says, Hammer of Ancients and Demoralize combine to draw enemies, setting them up to be controlled by Ground Stomp and subsequently cleave to death. I mean, I don't think that's going to be how that build sorts out, but I like that their thought process, they have a thought process like, hey, I made a build, check it out. Don't really think we're going to be using all these together, but, you know, so be it. Some of these are really interesting, though. I'm not sure that I like Barbarians getting more CC. I'm going to be honest. I feel like they're already pretty strong, and CC is mostly a PvP thing. So let's go ahead and continue here. Crusader, main ham. When Spinning Shield hits an immobilized enemy, it was stunned for 3 seconds. Okay. Okay, so Spinning Shield getting some viability maybe in PvP here. Not really sure how that's gonna play out, as Crusader kind of, I feel like Crusader is kind of support based, and stun is kind of nice, but I'm not really, well, let's continue and read the other ones. I'm not really sure about that one. I'll leave this to the Crusaders that actually know the class. I'm sitting here thinking about it. They have to already be immobilized. So unless the Spinning Shield itself is immobilizing them and then stunning them, I'm not really sure how that's going to play out. But let's continue here. Spinning Shield now hurls 3 electrified shields that stun enemies they strike for 4 seconds. Okay, but no longer returns to you. Spinning Shield now has 2 maximum charges. So you could have an offhand and a main hand that go together that both seem to have some sort of stun effect related to Spinning Shield. So shield charge here now slams your shield into the ground, dealing damage and pulling in nearby enemies. I like the pulling in of enemies. It's sort of a CC. I like, for instance, the Gathering from the Barbarian Whirlwind. I like these. Concentration now covers a small targetable area, but will automatically seek nearby enemies. Automatically seeking nearby enemies is kind of cool. I like that. The chest, for every enemy affected by concentration, you receive Heavenly Strength, increasing your damage by 2% up to 10%. Oh, that one's interesting. Okay, so we have a damage increase from concentration. So it looks like some concentration-focused ones. And when Conjuration of Light is activated, it will now also blind nearby enemies for 3 seconds. That seems a little nutty. Not gonna lie, that seems a little blinding enemies for 3 full seconds on Conjuration of Light, which is a PvP one. I think that's nice. I'm kind of glad that the Crusaders got that one. I think that's nice. Shield charge helps you round up monsters, creating a captive audience for a stunning shield display, after which you can drop concentration and watch them melt away. If you're having to use 3 moves on 1 pack of mobs, like, your damage blows anyway, but all right. Let's continue here. Demon Hunter. So, Demon Hunter from the beginning, the chest here, knockback shot now causes your primary attack to also fire a blast of wind that knocks enemies away. Ooh, I kind of like that. Okay, some safety types of essences for the DH. This is almost about what I was talking about in one of my previous videos. I thought they needed some like safety type of mechanics for PvP. Like that. After using knockback shock, your primary attack speed is increased by 30% for 4 seconds. Okay, some more primary attack on knockback. Look at the synergy there. Knife trap now attracts enemies once triggered and explodes several seconds later. Ooh, I kind of like the attracting enemies. It's almost a taunt. It kind of reminds me of like the zombies little toy you would throw out that attracts the zombies and then blows up. I like that. Rain of Vengeance now deploys flaming arrows, burning all enemies in the targeted area. Nice, more combos. So we have a burst of wind here, and we have a flaming arrows, meaning that DH can now do a firestorm combo, if I'm reading this correctly. Crossbow shot now also deals additional damage whenever it hits the enemy same enemy 3 times. I like that. That's more single target damage increase. It seems to be the DH's main specialization. I like that they're doubling down on that. Multi shot now randomly fires either hatred or discipline arrows, causing any struck enemies to become vulnerable or slowed respectively. Enemies affected by both effects take additional damage and are stunned. So it does actually look like they're getting somewhat of what I was hoping, which is ways to keep themselves safer and ways to have additional CC. I actually like that. Now, Monk doesn't need any love at all, especially in PvP. So let's see what they choose to do with this. Now, the head here, Inner Sanctuary now forms a spiritual sphere, greatly reducing the movement speed of enemies and preventing dash skills from being used while within this sphere. Ooh, preventing dash skills, sort of locking maybe other monks down, barbarians with the new charges, etc. The pants, each time Wave of Light deals damage to an enemy within 3 seconds, its damage against that enemy is increased by 3%, up to 30%. That is a massive damage increase. 30% is a very large damage increase, but it's Wave of Light. So Flying Dragon now creates a massive updrift in a targeted area, knocking any enemies in that area up into the air. If Flying Dragon is activated again after hitting enemies, you'll be teleported to them and deliver a flurry of kick, stealing damage and stunning them. Okay, so one thing Monks does not need is additional CC, immunity frames, and additional teleports. I don't understand why this is needed literally at all. Let's continue here. Main hand, the final strike of Fists of Thunder. Full combo now generates a ball of lightning that deals damage continually. I think that's fine. Fists of Thunder could probably, the basic attacks could use a little bit of buffs, especially on the main hand where it's somewhat competitive. I don't think this changed anything, but it makes the basic attacks maybe a little bit more viable. I'm okay with basic attack buffing. Wave of Light now comes channel, dropping a golden bell in front of you that you repeatedly strike, damaging all nearby enemies. I really thought originally these golden bells you drop and you punch the bells would be kind of cool. In reality, it's mostly a PvE thing, and setting it up is often just too frustrating to try to get with because of the radius and everything of it. So I don't really like these. Like, you punch this thing and then it strikes everything around it. It's like, I just want to deal damage directly. Flying Dragon now also shatters enemy armor, increasing damage taken by 10% for 3 seconds. Ooh. Do we really need... Okay, that's nice for PvE bosses, but I feel like increasing the damage someone takes on a class that's already dealing... Like, I just don't feel like Monk really needed anything. I don't think they needed more options. I mean, I feel like all of the essences should have been PvE focused. Some of these definitely seem like they're going to be useful in PvP, like this teleporting to them, flying and stunning, and then this, like, preventing dash skills. Even arguably this one... Flying Dragon 2. These are on abilities you actually use in PvP. So I'm not necessarily sure I like these monk changes. In fact, I think this is... I don't think it's a big deal, but it's probably highly unnecessary to give monks any type of change that remotely could be used in PvP. I think we should be focusing primarily on PvE, which is sort of what we're doing. I mean, most of these are PvE focused, but there are a couple here which very obviously seem like they're going to be good in PvP, which they just don't need. Necromancer here. Bone Spirit's damage is increased by 35% to feared enemies. I think that's interesting, trying to do some synergy with fear, maybe with the Crazy Skull, etc. Okay, maybe the chest isn't as a competitive spot as some of the other places, so, I'm okay with it. Corpse Lance now also reduces the movement speed for any enemy that strikes and immobilizes the enemy hit by Lance 4 times for 3 seconds. I actually kind of like this because I feel like Corpse Lance, while it is used by some of the higher tier Necromancers, it's not as an obvious a build, and it's very nuanced to actually have to use, and you have to set it up with the corpses and all that. So I actually don't mind Corpse Lance getting some additional CC type of viability, because you do have to sacrifice as a Necromancer to use it. We have enough CC and everything that you have to have a choice between which of the actual good moves you want to use in PvP. You do have a little bit of a decision to make, because there's multiple builds I feel like the Necromancer can use, which are viable in PvP, which I actually like a good deal. So I think this one makes the Corpse Lance variety a little bit more viable. It doesn't do anything like stunning. It just immobilizes, reduces the movement speed, which isn't a big deal. It doesn't seem OP, but I think it's nicely targeted at potentially helping out the Necromancer from the Corpse Lance perspective, and it's on the head spot. So that's a spot where you actually do have to sacrifice things like bone spikes, for instance, to be able to use this. So this isn't just free buff for them or anything. This is a give and take. They have to decide what they want to do, focus a little bit more on the damage with Corpse Lance, etc., set it up. So I'm okay with that. Offhand here. Bone Spirits now instantly releases many spirits, but no longer consumes energy to maintain the effect. This is very generic. I don't know what they mean by instantly releases many spirits. It sounds like this is sort of the same thing as Disintegrate and Ice, a Ray of Frost, where you instantaneously cast it instead of having it be a channel, and it does bonus damage. That's what it sounds like to me. Pants. Wraith Form now quickly transports you to your target. Upon arrival, you deal damage and fear all nearby enemies. That is insane. That is a 6-piece Gloom set minus like the major damage for free. That's actually quite insane. And it teleports you to your target. That kind of guarantees the fear is going to happen because you're going to them. And it's a dash, so it's going to trigger invocations on where you started from like the stun of it. This is actually quite good pair of pants. I like that a lot, as a matter of fact. That is very good. I'm actually extremely curious now. Wraith Form cooldown is reduced by 0.5 seconds each time you are hit. Cooldown cannot be reduced by more than 1.5 seconds maximum. Oh, that is interesting as well. So now we have maybe a Wraith Form teleport CC type of build that could come into the equation. I'm liking where this is going. Corpse Explosion now also detonates the fear of targeted enemies, dealing damage to, also detonates the fear of targeted enemies, dealing damage to all nearby enemies. So if you fear people, you can target them with Corpse Explosion to explode the fear, and you don't need a corpse. That's how I'm reading this. If that's true, this is one of the first really cool, unique synergies I've seen with Corpse Explosion. Like Nightmare Wreath, the 1-star gem, maybe could use this. There is some argument to be made. This could be actually pretty cool if this does not require a corpse, okay? So let's see. Use Wraith Form to spread fear among your enemies, following up with Bone Spirits to nuke them, and then follow detonation of that fear into nothingness with Corpse Explosion. I see where they're going with this. I actually like this. I actually like this kind of a lot, to be honest. I don't know what's so appealing about this, but the fear, they're kind of doubling down on the fear, which is a little bit underutilized mechanic in Immortal. And I like that they're giving it to the Necromancer. It fits thematically. None of these really seem too OP, but these pants seem like that could actually be very, very good. Especially if you can teleport onto somebody that's on the idol and fear them off of the idol. Depending upon how well the fear moves, that could be very interesting. You know what would be really cool is if the fear like bonus their movement speed, so they ran away real fast or something. You could really have some cool, especially in the 10v10 PvP. Maybe people are defending towers and stuff. I actually like this a lot. I think there's a lot of potential with that. So let's continue here. Wizard. Ice Armor now also reduces the amount of continual damage you take by 40%. Arcane Torrent. Wait, hold on. Let's read it again. Ice Armor now also reduces the amount of continual damage you take by 40%. Ooh. So this is nice if you're sitting way in the back and you're getting hit by things like beams from other wizards. If you're getting Seeping Bows triggered on you, you can put Ice Armor up and now maybe try to survive that Seeping Bow. That's not bad. I like that they're trying to make Ice Armor more viable. Arcane Torrent now creates a chaotic orb that moves with you and fires arcane missiles at random nearby enemies. So if this just moves with you and it's just bonus damage, just auto-targeting, sort of like a minion that follows you, this is great for farming. The main hand currently is arguable that it doesn't have a bunch of amazing, at least I don't find them too amazing, main hand farming options. There's things like the wind, there's the electrocute jump if you're doing the battle mage one, etc. However, this actually gives some pretty significant, depending upon the damage and how it works, if this gives you some pretty significant buff in terms of farming in the overworld, because I was showing the build earlier where you have these things like Meteorite, Lightning Nova, etc. that follow you around, deal damage, and this is another one of those, so I kind of like that. Offhand, ally struck by Lightning Nova gains 30% increase movement speed for 1 second. Ooh! So if you have that circle in the Lightning Nova going on, or you cast the big burning one or something, hits your allies, they have a movement speed buff. Very interesting. Don't know how well that's going to actually play out in game. Okay, I'm not probably ever going to use that one. Lightning Nova now transfigures you into a ball of pure lightning, allowing you to move at high speed and continually deal damage to any nearby enemies. Well, that sounds fucking awesome. I mean, that sounds like a pylon built into the chest. That sounds amazing. I love that. Whenever Arcane Torrent hits an enemy 4 times, they would take an additional burst of damage. Okay, so some parrying maybe with the Arcane Torrent that we saw for the main hand. And then your head, your slow time now follows you. Okay. Wait a minute. Follows you? Does it follow through teleport? Because you could cast slow time teleport onto like the idol and nuke everybody with your slow time. That is very interesting. I like that. You know, the Wizard and Necromancer got some really cool changes. That is, okay, so I'm both of these classes got the most interesting changes. I'm Wizard right now. I might change to Necromancer to try these out, but these got some cool-ass changes. Big fan, actually. Hell difficulty player merge. We're making changes so that players across hell difficulties can play together based on server paragon level. Finding a party will be easier. Completing dungeons solo or with a small party will be easier. So how does this actually work? Players in hell difficulties 1 to 4 can play together, and dungeons will be tuned for the number of players. Okay, so they're basically doing the equivalent of server merges for hell difficulty. This is inevitable, much like Thanos. And the reason for this is player population goes down in mobile games. So every mobile game, by the way, this isn't just Immortal. People seem to think every game's a dead game after 6 months. No matter what game I've ever played, people will leave the comments dead game after 6 months. It's because population goes like this. Obviously, it's a new game. People play it, they get bored of it, and it slowly dies out as people don't like the updates, or they just play other games, other stuff comes out, you know, life happens. So games obviously peak and then they die down. Well, because of that, population is lowered, and playing the game as a new player, especially if you play it because it is an MMO and you want to play with other players, can be especially frustrating. So this makes sense. I like that they're addressing this now before it becomes a real issue. Being able to play together in multiple hell difficulties is nice for players. Server Paragon 360, 1 to 5 can play together. Server Paragon level 480, 1 to 6 can play together. 600, 1 to 7 can play together. And then once it hits 800 players, all the way from Hell 1 to Hell 8 can play together, and dungeons will be tuned for the number of players. So this is actually a fairly significant change, not only for new players, but also for veteran players. So the dungeons will be tuned for the number of players. We'll probably make a video talking about this in its entirety, because I think this is a pretty good separate point. But that means when the Server Paragon hits 800, the current difficulty we're in Hell 8 will now be soloable for dungeons. And because of that, that actually makes the quality of life in terms of playing dungeons a little bit easier. Obviously, you're not going to get the 4-man bonuses. But currently in the game, that's already how this is, if you didn't know. So up to Hell 5 difficulty, dungeons are tuned per player. So it will have 25% of the HP for a boss if you're playing solo as compared to with 4 people. It's just how it works. So because of that, they're changing this basically all the way up to Hell 8. I think this basically tells us between the lines that this means Hell 9 Plus is coming. The reason I say this is because I don't believe that they would have the in-game, whatever the in-game Hell difficulty is, and the beginning new players play together. It seems like they always separate whatever the in-game Hell difficulty is by a little bit with some essences or whatever. And I think that's probably what they're going to do here. I would assume by the time we hit Server Paragon level 800, this will be going into the major update, which will be the anniversary into June, launch of D4, etc. I would assume around this time, we're going to see new Hell difficulties added. So that way it's not just, hey, what's the point of even climbing difficulties at all? You can play together with anyone at any time, etc. It's just a combat rank, right? I would assume that's what's going to happen. That way Hell 9 is at least somewhat separate. But this is interesting. And they're thinking, we are making changes so that players across Hell difficulties can play together based on Server Paragon level. Finding a party will be easier. Completing dungeons will be easier. So I like where this is going. This makes sense. I like being able to play with and carry other players that are kind of newer to the game. I like being able to play with my friends when they join, etc. Especially with the recall and player referral types of events they do. This does actually make a lot of sense and should help a lot of the newer players out. I think if we read between the lines and put on my tinfoil hat, this probably means Hell 9 is coming. If I had to guess, I don't think they want the in-game difficulties being merged. I think they want the previous ones like not mattering as much as the newer one, if I had to guess. But again, that's speculation. Let's continue here. A Cursed Towers PvE registration deadline change. So they're changing the registration deadline. Why? Saturday, 9 p.m. through 3 a.m. to now 9 p.m. now take place in 9 p.m. Okay, hold on, let's read this again. Timing for clans to register for purification towers has been changed from Saturday at 9 p.m. through Monday at 3 a.m. to now take place at 9 p.m. through Sundays at 9 p.m. Server time. Towers will activate for purges after the registration deadline as they always have. Okay, so I'm not sure how that actually plays out. Despite originally lining up the registration deadline with the timing of the weekly reset, we made the change to reduce the pressure players may have felt to attend an awkward start time. So now take place at Saturdays at 9 p.m. Okay, I don't understand how this changed. It's been registration at 9 p.m. through Mondays at 3 a.m. Server time to now take place at 9 p.m. Well, I thought that's kind of what it already... maybe I'm not understanding this. Someone in the comments will reread this and explain to me. The way they're explaining this isn't making sense to me, but someone would just let me know what that actually means. Let's continue. Battleground and Rite of Exile change. Now when defenders are pushing back, the item in phase 2 of Battleground, the Rite of Exile, the item movement speed will be 50% slower. So this is a big buff for offense in PvP. We were just talking about this. I was just talking about this in the Discord with some heavy PvPers the other day, and we were talking about potential changes that could be really nice. This actually is not one of the ones we mentioned, but it's one of the ones that I think is a good viable option. Actually addressing the idle being the issue on offense is nice. So I do like that they're continually doing balance changes. I think this most likely will be well received. How this actually plays out in the game, I would like to see for myself, but this definitely is going to make offense easier. I mean, it's pushing movement back 50% as much. This makes barbarians even stronger on offense because if you can stay on the point, just staying on the point is even more important. So good change. I think that's overall probably a good change. Requirements change to unlock gated gear. Gear drops from activities not tied to hell difficulties, such as Elder Rifts, are no longer unlocked through challenge rift progression. This is a big change. Instead, they are unlocked by defeating Heliquary bosses. That makes sense for the corresponding hell difficulty. So that way, you unlock the new difficulty, it unlocks the gear too. That is actually a smart change. Effectively, once you beat the boss and unlock the difficulty of the next difficulty, unlocks the gear with that difficulty, and you don't have to worry about the challenge rift. This basically makes challenge rifts, other than the small rewards you get for your, you have to upgrade your side items, basically makes challenge rifts a giant joke. They're still not really useful. The rewards are still dog water, and the competition in terms of monthly placement, etc., to try to get those side rewards, which are the ones that actually matter for side upgrades for your blacksmith, are dog water as well, because people can still place multiple times on the leaderboard by cheesing it with the largest whale on the server can go with 10 other people and just lock everyone out. So I still don't like that challenge rifts seem to be a joke in the game, but it is what it is. Let's continue with the cursed item update. They're listening to the cursed item update. Okay, we have updated the following positive properties. Bluster, the tornado will now automatically target the nearest enemies. Okay, I don't think that's the issue with it. I think the issue with it is that you have to run a certain set for it, but all right. Detested, previously this property could only be triggered by skills marked with a control tag. True. We have now expanded the trigger condition to include the additional loss of control effects. I like that, as this is actually a pretty good one. I thought Detested was one of the better ones. Let's continue here. The counterattack state, and this is the one where it does like a big doom circle, by the way. The AoE on that's fairly large. The counterattack state will persist for its full duration, even if the shield you use to activate it is broken. Love that change. That means you can at least activate the Netherlord proc. I think that's a good change. I think Netherlord had the potential to actually be quite useful, but they were taking away that potential, and this maybe brings it back. Tortured. We have updated the visuals of the trail of flames to more accurately align with the area the enemies take damage in. That's not the change you needed. That's one of them, but it needs to be a continual larger AoE and have the cooldown reduced, I would think. Because normally the dash cooldowns themselves are the issues, like just having enough dashes. It should be able to... I feel like this doesn't do enough where it matters, and it's such a linear path with the dash that it's just, you should be able to have a burning on at least half your dashes, but I don't find this one to be that appealing. We've added several new negative properties. Why? Damage dealt to shielded enemies is reduced. Damage dealt to foe enemies is reduced. Healing potion cooldown is reduced. Okay, so the healing potion cooldown being reduced is a good one, because that just means that's a gimme where we get it, and sure, who cares. The damage dealt to shielded enemies is a big nerf in PvP. This makes cursed items worse in PvP, because shielded enemies are a large part of this. So this is bad for PvP, when cursed items are already bad for PvP, as you went invocation. So I do think this is a low tone death for that. Damage dealt to foe enemies' life is reduced. is still annoying to me because full life enemies are going to be for PvE overworld farming. So whenever you're hitting somebody, it's going to be somebody that is basically full HP, and you're going to be trying to one-shot that pack more times than not, unless you're doing continued damage build or whirlwind barb or something. So okay, so be it. You run through them. The first one is a small reduction, and then after that, it's not a big deal. I still don't like this damage dealt reduction. Like, these negative properties are the problem with the gear. I don't think adding ones that are bad is going to help. Like, these are still properties I don't want. You know what I mean? I still don't want this, and I don't want this. But I guess this one is better than, 4% of the damage I deal, which is lowered forever after killing, for forever is an example, for a second after killing a minion, which is basically forever when you're farming the overworld because it has no cooldown. I feel like these, in order to make these fair, these should have the same cooldown as the item. So if you have a 2-piece, the negative effect has a 90-second cooldown. If you got, a 9-second cooldown on last or something, then the negative effect should have a 9-second cooldown. Like, the cursed property should have the same cooldown. I don't think it's very fair. Honestly, you could literally remove all of the new negative properties. You could really remove just all of the negative properties from cursed gear, and it's still a decision. Some people are still going to choose to have invocations, even if you remove all the properties. So, I still think cursed updates now. Our goal with this primary minor update to cursed items was to make several of the positive properties feel better to use and to create more options for negative properties you can strategize around, finding ones that affect their build at least while reaping the benefits. I mean, if the healing potion one's nice, but the problem with this is this just makes it where, oh, did you get the healing potion one? You did it? Okay, well, that's the only one that you can actually deal with. The other ones are, you don't want any of the other ones. I just don't like the negative properties, and I'm gonna stay not liking the negative properties. Raid group assembly. Players can now convert their party into a raid anywhere in the wilderness. This raid can be brought, so this is a quality of life. Can be brought directly in any activity that requires a raid by passing the name to forward a raid in the lobby. Using the new My Raid menu, the raid leader can promote other members of the group to admins who will have the same privileges as the leader. Raid leader and their admins can also access a suite of raid features to help manage larger player counts. Raids in the wilderness can consist of up to 8 players and cannot engage in activities meant for parties such as dungeons. Also, any party-wide bonuses are only shared amongst the 4 members in your meeting group. So let's see what the dev note on this is, because I'm curious. Players' feedback: assembling a group within the raid lobbies was tedious, and we agree. This update, we're aiming to streamline how players assemble raid with the goal of helping raids transition between raid activities without needing to reassemble the group each time. Okay, that's fine. I mean, you can already swap. I didn't actually think this was that bad, but maybe this is something that need to be changed. We'll see how it's implemented in the game. They're just trying to do a quality of life. So that's sort of nice, I suppose. Earn missed immortal rewards. Players can now earn missed rewards from the weekly celebration of a new immortal reign by completing activities that grant bout points. That's nice. I like this catch-up stuff if you miss something. That's nice. That's just a quality of life change. Rite of Exile and a cursed spectator mode. So I like spectator mode. This is nice, especially for me that wants to get some footage of it. This is great. Being able to spectate this was a ass change, and I like that they're adding it. Customized chat shortcuts. So many player type messages. Okay, so you can effectively, OMW is now on my way. Stuff like that. So you can pre-program your own chat shortcuts. Another quality of life. Chat channels tab. I think this is a nice quality of life, especially because some chat channels are completely worthless to listen to, while others are actually quite good. So that's a nice quality of life feature. Predictive chat messages, communicating through chat. I don't really like predictive text in anything, personally. I find it argues with me more than I'm actually trying to do something, but that's just me personally, so I get that. Voice chat improvement. Players can now easily join voice chat via the party and raid drop-down menu. Okay, I like that. I think the voice chat's not used as much, but it's actually very well implemented in the game. If you haven't used the voice chat, it's very good. Voice memo improvements. So more voice memo improvements been streamlined. Players no longer need to press and hold the voice memo button while talking to record their message. Can press a button initial recording. So some quality of life features around the messaging. Okay, so these are all nice quality of life features. Nothing major to talk about here. So now we get a new event. It's going to be another one of these login events, I'm sure. Rare crest, random 1-star legendary. Wait, hold on, you get gems. So let's read this, actually. True warriors and measure. Complete the daily and challenge tasks. Players can complete bounties or elder rifts. Based on the tier you achieve by event's conclusion, you receive a corresponding reward. Players will only receive the reward for the highest tier achieved and not preceding tiers. Okay, so you only get the highest one. Lowest one being a rare crest, and a rare crest and 1 random 1-star, rare crest and 2 random 1-star, 3 random 1-star, and 4 random 1-star legendary gems. Now, I want to take a moment to say I like this, because one of my complaints is that the events don't offer very meaningful rewards. You'll get 1 pearl and a rare crest, and if you're lucky, a legendary item. Adding legendary gems as a reward, random legendary gems even, as a reward is a good, smart change. This is going to help free to players and even people who once spend money like myself but no longer are dumping in tons of money into the game be able to still acquire gem fragments or gem power in order to upgrade gems as we are progressing in the game. I like this. I do want to say that I would like this to be in addition. I think the rare crest should be a legendary crest. We should still have a pearl. But if you add this 4 random 1-star legendary gems to most of these events, you start getting a good handful of legendary gems. We really have made a smart change here. So I actually quite like giving out legendary gems as rewards. I think that's a W. Let's continue here. Hungry Moon, another Hungry Moon, new version of Hungry Moon. What do we have here? Blessing More give you 50% bonus gold, 10% damage. That's already the same. Blessing Might. This is all the same here. Okay, Hermit's Collection. Be sure to collect 12 blessings. Bounty of the blah, 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 blah. What can we actually get? 3 rare crests, 1 random set. See, this is the rewards I'm talking about. This is what we normally expect out of the event. You get a set or a legendary item. You get a pearl. You get a legendary crest. This isn't, these are nice. I mean, for Hungry Moons, like all the time. So I'm fine with these rewards. I do think pearls, anytime we give out pearls, should at least be a few of them. But I've been saying that every time. I'm getting sick of saying it. So let's just continue. All clans on deck, limited time event. We have another one of these. Let's see what the rewards is. Random legendary item, 15 keys. Oh, and we're giving out more random gems. Oh, I love this. Okay, so at the highest tier, again, it's one of these you receive just for the highest tier if you get it. Random legendary gem, random 1-star gem, 3 random normal gems, and a avatar frame. I actually like the avatar frame for event. I think that's cool. Random legendary, more random legendary gems, random normal gems. Gems are what we want. So if you do all of these, you're getting basically between all the events, you'll be getting what is that? 4 rare crests, a legendary crest, a pearl, 5 random 1-star gems, 3 random normal gems. The rewards are actually getting somewhat decent. New cosmetic set. That looks pretty good. This sort of looks like a Wrath of the Lich King type of thing here. Spectral Flame, 1,000 orbs, as is tradition. And then they say bug fixes. Let's check our platform for bug fixes, see if they're out yet. Doesn't look like it. But April 18th, fixed an issue that required players to identify rank 10 legendary item reward after earning it. Gameplay ones fixed an issue with Curse Towers for players who changed clans before last content would be able to register. And the UI issue fix. That looks like about it. Some of the essences look quite good. The Necromancer one comes to mind. The Barbarian Stun Pants come to mind. I don't think the Monk needs any love in PvP. I don't think they got any major love in PvP, as I think the other essences are probably still better, but it did seem like a couple of those are good. The Fear Pants for the Necromancer seem out of this world good. I think that seems very good. And I like the new random legendary gems. And there's the battleground change where 50% slower for defense, pushing it back. These are all good changes. So it's a minor update, not a major. So don't expect anything game changing. These are mostly quality of life updates and trying to make the game a little bit more streamlined and some new essences. So overall, not a bad little minor update. I think we're mostly excited for the major update that's going to be coming sort of like anniversary time, right around the beginning of June, end of May, kind of is the approximation. We know that because there's 4 quarterly major updates. We had the first quarterly major update already. End of May, beginning of June would be about 3 months after that, which would coincide with quarterly updates. And that's right around the launch of Diablo 4. And we've already data mined some stuff like Lilith, etc. could be coming to the game. If you're interested in what we think is coming to the major update, I'm going to have the video right here that you can watch right now that will break down what we expect to see coming in the major update.